Welcome to the Latin American Perspectives podcast. My name is Tomas Ocampo, Outreach Coordinator at Latin American Perspectives. Today we will be discussing the main theme of the May LAP issue, Spirits, Bodies, and Structures, Religion, Politics, and Social Inequality in Latin America, with editor Jennifer Hughes. Jennifer is Associate Professor in the Department of History at the University of California, Riverside, specializing in the history of religion in Latin America with special consideration for the spiritual lives of Mexican and Mexican-American Catholics. Her book, Biography of a Mexican Crucifix, Lived Religion and Local Faith from the Conquest to the Present, is a history of popular devotion to devotional images of the suffering of Christ in Mexico. Her research and teaching focus on the history of religion in Latin America, especially religious conversion and indigenous Christianity in Mexico. Good morning, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
For my first question, can I ask you to briefly summarize for our readers the main themes that the issue covers?
Yes, so the articles that we have included in this issue cluster under, I would say, sort of three topics. The first of these has to do with the afterlives of liberation theology, the ways in which human rights organizations, indigenous communities, and urban parishes throughout Latin America have translated and drawn upon the liberation theology tradition in order to extend liberationist struggles and themes into the present moment. The second cluster of articles concerns LGBTQ struggles for recognition and inclusion and citizenship, ongoing struggle for reproductive rights, and the rights of those who are marginalized because of sexual orientation. So the third category, I would say, the third cluster of articles has to do with other than Roman Catholic majority religions, right? So has to do with the ongoing political presence of evangelical Christianity in the public sphere, for example, and the ongoing struggle for recognition and inclusion by practitioners of African-descended religions.
So with all of those different areas in the introduction, in regards to Afro-Caribbean religions and LGBTQ rights, and sort of the change Pope Francis has brought to the Catholic religious dogma, how do we see social inequality play out in regards to these areas? What are we likely to continue to see in the near future?
The emphasis on social inequality as the backdrop for thinking about the religious landscape of Latin America is really representative of what Latin American Perspectives brings to the interpretation of religious experience, right? So what does it mean for Latin American Perspectives to think about religion? In this issue, we are arguing for the ongoing importance or the essential importance of what I would say materialist interpretations or contextualizations of religion, religious experience, and religious phenomena, right? So that is to say that we always understand that the religious person, the religious actor, the believer, the community of believers is always functioning within a material context, a social context, a social reality. And in Latin America, we recognize the material conditions of that reality is fundamentally defined by inequality, economic inequality, gender inequality, social inequality in various forms. That is the analytic that Latin American Perspectives brings to this subject matter, to this content, right? That materialist frame for interpreting religion.
And what do you think we're likely to see play out in the future with the way that these areas in regards to religion and to social and economic and cultural aspects in Latin America will or are going to change?
So this is the third issue that Latin American Perspectives has dedicated to the topic of religion and religious experience, religious social movements. I think that we recognize, we saw immediately that in the period since the last issue, which was published in 2005, there have been some really important movements that are definitive for what we're seeing now in this moment, and I think where we will go, what we will see in the future. The first of those would be the decline in Roman Catholicism's centrality, right? Or the sort of homogeneity, disruption in some way to Roman Catholic predominance, right? Then the other really is the rise of LGBTQ movements, the struggle for reproductive rights. So what we saw when we received submissions for this dedicated issue, this special issue on religion, was the ways in which issues of sexual orientation, reproductive rights, feminist issues, issues of gender, sexual orientation, the way in which those were of primary importance, that scholars are focusing in response to those struggles and those movements. Scholars are taking that as a really important focus. So I think we'll see that moving forward. But I guess I would say that in the future, I would anticipate to see an increasing diversity and diversification of the public religious sphere. And I would expect to see an increasing diversification of various religious identities and identifications and movements inserting themselves in the public sphere. So I would see that that would continue.
Well, so okay. Thank you very much for providing us with insight into how religion is definitely changing in Latin America.
Okay, you're very welcome.
All right, thank you, Jenna.
I hope you enjoy the issue.
Thank you. That is all the time we have for today to our audience, so thank you very much for listening in. Please don't forget to add us on Facebook, Twitter, and all of our other wonderful social media sites. And don't forget to join us again in July for our next podcast.